Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do my June TBR, which is kind of crazy this month because I decided to do the Olympics Readathon that's being hosted by Shelf Space. It's a team-based challenge, so everyone who signed up was divided up into teams. My team is Team Nyx, Goddess of the Night. The point of this reading challenge is to accumulate points throughout the month of June, and then whichever team accumulates the most points at the end wins. There's no grand prize except for the title and bragging rights, but it should be still a pretty fun experience. With that said, there are 16 prompts. You do not need to read 16 books, thank God. But if you read books that fall under those prompts, you get extra points. If you read a book that falls under your god or goddess's prompt, you get double those points. There are a bunch of ways to get extra points, but basically the point is to read books within those prompts, and the longer the book is, the more points you get. I don't have a set plan for how I'm going to do this month. What I've done instead is accumulated a bunch of books that fall under these prompts, and I'm going to, throughout the month, pick books from that stack. I'm hoping to read maybe 5. If I'm being really optimistic, 6 books this month. That would be absolutely awesome, but I think it depends on what I pick up. There are some chunky boys in there, but I think that I've got some smaller books too to sort of even it out. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Zeus. The prompt for Zeus is to read a book that features a kingdom or patriarchy. And for that, I picked His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. I've read Uprooted. It's on my bookshelf. I really enjoyed Uprooted. So there's some people with mixed opinions out there on it. I really liked it when I read it, so I picked this up at a thrift store when I saw it and I recognized her name. It's been on my TBR shelf for a long time, so now would be the perfect opportunity to pick it up. There are several books in this stack that are books that have been on my shelf for a long time that I just haven't picked up, so hopefully at least one of those books will get read. So the next prompt is Poseidon. Read a book with water, oceans, lakes, rivers, etc. So for this, I would like to read the next Earthsea book. I know I said I was going to wait, but this just fits too perfectly and I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. The next book, book 4, I think is called Tenahu. I have the 5th book, but I don't have the 4th book, so I'll have to either get the ebook or find it somewhere. It's not super high on my priority list, but if I decide I want to fulfill this prompt and read that book, then it's an option. The third one is Hades. Read a book with the undead or a ghost theme. And for that, I chose Sabriel. This book, I read the sequel to it a long time ago. I think it was high school. I read the sequel to this book, not realizing that it was the sequel and not the first book in the series. A coworker of mine really likes this series, and when I saw them at the store, I decided why not pick them up. I don't remember a whole lot from the second book, so I'm going into this pretty blind. So that would be my pick for, there's like undead and like dead magic, death magic, I think is what there is a lot of in this book. From what I can remember, I do remember there being dead things in the second book. The next prompt is Hestia. Read a book with the found family trope. I've seen this prompt on several readathons and such, but have always had a hard time with it because I don't really know what books fall under that category. I don't seek it out very often, like specifically. I like the trope, but I just don't seek it out. And I don't know enough about all the books on my shelves to know if they have that trope in it. But I did find a list, and there were a couple books on that list that are books I'm interested in reading. I don't own any of them, but if I decide I want to pick up some new books, then I'll probably be one of these 3. So that includes The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, Ninth Reign by Jen Williams, or Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. Those are all 3 books that I'm very interested in reading. So that's a possibility. Those are all possibilities for that prompt. The next prompt, Hephaestus, read a book with fire on the cover or in the title. And for that, I plan on reading Land of the Outcasts, which is an ebook that I'm renting through my library. The cover, in the middle, there's a little tiny campfire. So there's the fire. It looks like a really funny read, really fun, adventurous, and I think it'll be a nice break between some of the heavier stuff I have on this TBR. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. That's definitely one of the ones I'm going to be reading this month. Then, after that is Dionysus. Read a book with a red or white cover. And for that, I picked up Sacred Ground by Mercedes Lackey. This is something that has been on my TBR shelf for a long time. However, it also has not been high on my priority list ever, really. It's just kind of, I don't remember why I bought it necessarily. I think I just really liked how it looked. I really like how all of Mercedes Lackey's books look. I love all their covers, but for some reason I'm not super interested in picking them up, although I'm hopeful that I will like them. Anyways, for the next prompt, Hermes, read a book involving travel, vacation, or a quest. And for that, I plan on reading Quest Factor by Wilson Belshaw. So this is a book that I read a couple years ago and I really liked it. It's really, really funny. It's like a D&D style satire, and it's super funny. I wrote a review for it back when I had a blog. The second book came out last year. I believe it was last year. I did pick it up, but I haven't read it yet, and I do really want to read it, but I'm going to reread the first book first. So I'm going to reread Quest Factor for this prompt, and it fits because the characters definitely go on quests, and it's called Quest Factor, so yeah. I couldn't figure out how to make the second book fit. I'm not sure. Maybe a found family. I don't know. I might wait till August to read the second book, but I think it just depends. I might just read it anyway. They're pretty short books, so, and pretty fast reads, so I don't think it'll be that much of a distraction if I were to read that book. And I still get points. You still get points too if you read books that don't fit the prompts, so maybe I will still read it. We'll see. But yeah, that's my pick for Hermes. The next prompt is Artemis, read a book with moon or night in the title or on the cover. And for that, I grabbed A Reunion of Ghosts by Judith Clare Mitchell. It's got night on the cover. You see all the pretty stars. I picked up this book because I thought it was pretty and I liked the title. I know it's about sisters, and that's about it. It's been on my shelf for a long time. It's one of those, so we'll see if it'll get read this month. The next prompt is Apollo, read a book in a non-traditional format, such as verse, mixed media, graphic novel, novella, etc. So for that, I want to read Akira. So this is a manga, and I've been wanting to read it for a while. I'm very excited. I think it's perfect for this prompt because there's not a lot of dialogue, so I think it'll be a fairly quick read, but it's also pretty big. It is plus 300 pages, which is the mark for when you get extra points. So it's both a quick read, but also something that'll get me a little bit extra points-wise. So I'm excited for that one. The next prompt is Aries, read a military-centered fantasy or sci-fi book. And for that, I grabbed Embers of War by Gareth L. Powell. I've had this on my shelf for 2 years, I think. There was like this huge selection of books at a discount store that is in my area. They get a bunch of random stuff, and they had this huge shipment of books. They haven't really had that happened since, but when that happened, oh my gosh, it was both the worst and the most wonderful thing to happen. And I bought so many books when that happened, and this was one of them. And this book, what sold me on it was when I realized that the main character is the ship, which is so very interesting, and I'm super excited to read this. I think that this fits the prompt perfectly. It's about war, she's a warship, and that, I imagine, would fit the prompt of being military centered. The next prompt is Aphrodite. Read a book with a beautiful cover. So I didn't pick a book for this prompt just because I think there are so many books with beautiful covers that I don't know if I necessarily need to pick something ahead of time for this. And yeah, it's just too varied, too wide, too varied for me to pick anything specifically right now. So that'll be like not necessarily a freebie, but something where I might sneak something random in, or if something doesn't quite fit somewhere, see if it'll fit there. We'll see. But I don't have anything specific picked out for that prompt. And the next prompt is Hera. Read a book that features a queendom or matriarchy. I wasn't sure about this one. I wasn't sure what books fit it, but I found a list, and on that list was The Poppy War and Red Rising. So these are both books that are on my TBR shelf, and I am interested in picking them up. I don't know which one I would want to read more, so I have them both out just in case. We've got options. After that is Demeter. Read a book with food on the cover, and for that I have picked what's it called? A Complicated Love Story Set in Space by Sean David Hutchinson. This is an ebook that I am going to rent from my library. I'm very excited for it. It's I'm not really sure what it's about. I don't know how romancy it is, but it's got popcorn on the cover, so it fits the prompt. And that's all that I really need to convince me to read it. So there's that. And then the next prompt is Athena. Read a book with political intrigue. And that is where I fit in the only book that I was actually planning on reading in June. And that is Dune. I have been planning on rereading Dune for a while. I wanted to do it this month, and I'm not gonna stop myself just because I decided I'm gonna do this readathon as well. So I'm just going to incorporate it into the readathon. I will still try and take my time with it because it is a reread and I want to get as much out of it as I can, but we'll see what happens. So this is my pick for a book with political intrigue. Now for the next prompt, Eos. Read a book that is the first in a series or duology. I have two options for that one. I have another Mercedes Lackey book, Storm Warning. Like I said before, I love the covers of pretty much all of Mercedes Lackey's books, but for some reason I just haven't read them. I think I've read like one, maybe two of her books before, but she has so many, and maybe that's why, because I'm a little overwhelmed. But anyway, I have this book. I have the two other books in this series. I think it's just a trilogy, but I'm not sure. But I do have the next two books. So I could start this, or I could start the Dresden Files with Stormfront. This is also an option. The first book in the Dresden Files series. I don't know. I'm afraid to start it because there are so many books in the series. I don't have any of them. This is the only one I have. We'll see. And then the last prompt is my team prompt. Team Nyx. So the prompt for Nyx is read a book that is the last in a series or duology. And for that, I've picked The Forgotten Kingdom by Signe Pike, because for this prompt, it doesn't necessarily have to be the very last book in the series if the series isn't completed. So for this series, it's going to be a trilogy, but only the second book is out. The third book's not out yet. The second book just came out, I think, at the end of last year. So I listened to the first one on audio, The Lost Queen, and I've gotten the audiobook for The Forgotten Kingdom, and I'm very excited to continue the series. I really liked the first book, and I've been thinking about picking up a physical copy of The Forgotten Kingdom as well to listen and read at the same time, because I've heard some people do that, and I'm curious to know what that's like and if I really like the experience or not. Initially I thought it was kind of a waste to have both a physical copy and an audiobook copy of the same book, but I'm wondering if it will add to the experience. And also, I've been having a hard time focusing on audiobooks lately. I really don't want to fall behind with listening to that book because it's my team prompt as well, so I get double points for that. So I definitely have to finish it. And I definitely want to listen to it on audio because I listened to the first book on audio and I enjoyed that experience. So I want to continue that. So yeah, that is everything for June. A lot of possibilities. Definitely not going to read them all. That would be very impressive, but I know myself and that's just not going to happen. I'm not going to pick up this whole stack because it's precarious and it's a lot and I'm going to drop them all, but I'll put in a picture so you can see. That's not even all the books because some of them are ebooks and some of them I haven't picked up or are possibilities that I might like pick up if I want to buy them. So yeah, that's a lot of books. I'm really excited to start. Very excited to start. I think what I'm going to pick up first, I'll start listening to The Forgotten Kingdom, and then I'm going to start Dune, definitely, because I think that one will be kind of rough. And then I'm either going to start Quest Factor or maybe Land of the Outcasts, something light to also read while I'm reading something a little heavier like Dune. So I'm super excited to see how this month goes. I can't wait to start. Of course, the 3-day weekend, holiday weekend, happened before the first. The first is, my first day back to work, which sucks, but oh well. That's everything. Let me know which books were the most interesting to you, which one sounded the most interesting, the most exciting, which ones do you think I should focus on for this readathon. Well, thank you for watching. If you want to see more, please subscribe. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.